I want to give a huge shout out to all my followers, all my supporters, anybody that has streamed Hot Topic, Hardaway, or Risky. I love you and thank you. Shout out to my team, Music the Label. Shout out to all my producers, my engineers, everybody that's been putting in work. We had 500,000 views on YouTube. 3 videos in, all 3 videos got 100K and up, and I'm finna drop again.
I want to give a huge shout out to all my followers, all my supporters, anybody that has streamed Hot Topic, Hardaway, or Risky. I love you and thank you. Her voice is bright and playful as she talks about numbers most independent artists only dream of. 500,000 views on YouTube, 3 videos in. Every single one past 100,000. She promises she's going to drop again, that this is only the beginning, that if you've got a dream, you should follow it. In that moment, Courtney Nicole Bruce isn't a statistic, or a headline, or a case file. She's Boog the Bandit, a 26-year-old woman who fought her way onto people's screens, into their playlists, into their lives. She's proof that somebody from the east side of Columbus can turn pain into music and attention into momentum. But that's not where this story ends. Because a short time later, those same lips that smiled into the camera would be gasping for air. That same voice that thanks supporters would be struggling to form a sentence after bullets tore through her chest. And somewhere not far away, 3 young men were already running, pockets filled with cash and jewelry that didn't belong to them. This is the story of how an aspiring star's life was stolen after an attempted robbery. How a woman who had already lost 2 years to prison, who had rebuilt herself, who had finally found her sound and her purpose, had it all ripped away in seconds. Police and prosecutors would later say it was just a robbery gone wrong. 3 guys with guns who saw an opportunity and took it. But the more you learn about Courtney's life, about the choices she made, about the city she refused to leave, the more you realize there was nothing simple about what happened on that day in May 2021. Was this really just about money? Or about something darker? Jealousy, resentment, the kind of envy that grows when somebody from your own city starts to make it out. To understand what really happened to Courtney Bruce, we can't start with the gunshots. We have to go back. Back to before the label deals, before the music videos, before prison and baptism and stage names. Back to the beginning, on the east side of Columbus, Ohio, where her story started like so many others, with a little girl who had big dreams in a place that didn't know what to do with them. Courtney was born on September 7, 1994, into a world where survival came before stardom. The east side wasn't some glamorous backdrop. It was cramped apartments, sirens at night, and kids who learned way too early what it meant to lose people. From the beginning, she stood out. Family would later describe her as stubborn, loud in the best way, somebody who filled up every room she walked into. She wasn't content to just blend into the background. Long before she touched a microphone, she knew how to walk into a space and make people look. But being different in a neighborhood like hers was a blessing and a risk. That kind of energy gets you friends, but it also gets you watched. People notice you. They talk about you. They expect you to either blow up or burn out. As she grew older, those 2 paths, escape and destruction, started to pull at her at the same time. On one hand, she was creative and ambitious, drawn to modeling, fashion, and the idea of being seen. On the other, she was still surrounded by the same pressures and shortcuts that catch so many young people when they're just trying to get ahead. Courtney wanted more than what the East Side offered, but the streets still had a grip on her. Before she ever stood in front of a studio mic and called herself Boog the Bandit, she would make choices that dragged her into a system that doesn't easily let go. Choices that almost ended her story long before the world ever heard her voice. Those choices caught up with her in 2017. For a lot of people watching from the outside, this is the part of the story they skip. They see the mugshot, the charge, the headline, and they think they already know who someone is. But for Courtney, the crime that put her behind bars was just one chapter, not her whole book. She got caught up in a federal case for conspiracy to commit bank fraud. It wasn't some movie-style heist, just the kind of messy, desperate hustle that too many young people fall into when they're trying to get money fast in a world that doesn't give them many legal ways to get ahead.
I want to give a huge shout out to all my followers, all my supporters, anybody that has streamed Hot Topic, Hardaway, or Risky. I love you and thank you. Shout out to my team, Music the Label. Shout out to all my producers, my engineers, everybody that's been putting in work. We had 500,000 views on YouTube, 3 videos in. All 3 videos got 100K and up, and I'm finna drop again.
More convinced the world has nothing for them. But something different happened to Courtney. Behind those walls, she was forced to sit with herself. No crowds, no noise, no distractions. Just her thoughts, her mistakes, and the uncomfortable truth that the path she was on was going to end in exactly 2 places: a cell or a grave. Somewhere in that quiet, she started to change. People close to her later called it a spiritual awakening. She didn't just want to do better in a vague way. She wanted to become someone new, someone her mom could be proud of, someone her younger self could look up to.
Courtney was a hot tomato. Spicy.
Change in a very specific way. On Valentine's Day, a day most people associate with roses and dates and social media posts,
1 or 2, either or, for real, just not Pensacola.
Leave the city, basically.
Yes.
Leave the city.
for it. And now, I'm not going back. But here's the thing about turning your life around. Life doesn't suddenly become easy. She came home to the same city, the same east side, the same streets. The difference now was inside her. She had a story, scars, and a need to express everything she had seen and felt. And the more she tried to move forward, the clearer it became that she needed more than a job or a routine. She needed an outlet, a way to turn all of that pain.
She had a big personality and a big future ahead of her. That's how Courtney Bruce, better known as Boog the Bandit's mom, described the up-and-coming rapper.
The screens, attention is its own kind of currency. She knew she had the look, the energy, the aura that made people pause when she walked into a room. So she leaned into it. She stepped into the world of urban fashion modeling. No red carpets or Paris runways. This was the culture. Streetwear, bold colors, attitude that matched the clothes. Her tattoos, her style, the way she carried herself, it all fit perfectly. Soon, she wasn't just another pretty face in Columbus. She was working with real brands, real names. She landed shoots with Chris Brown's Black Pyramid clothing line. She modeled for Rob Kardashian's Arthur George. Her face and body were now part of visual campaigns watched by thousands of people who had no idea about the prison sentence, the tears, the promises she'd made to herself. In front of the camera, she played the part, confident, untouchable, famous. She joked about it, saying she was famous now and people shouldn't touch her. There was humor in it, but there was also truth. Modeling gave her something she'd been chasing her whole life, proof that she could stand out and belong at the same time. But posing wasn't enough. The more she modeled, the more she realized something was missing. Striking a pose could show people what she looked like. It couldn't show them who she was. There were things inside her that a photo couldn't capture. The loneliness of a prison cell, the weight of her past mistakes, the pressure of trying to change, the tension of wanting to escape the streets while still loving the people stuck in them. She needed a voice. Music had always been there, in the background. Songs she loved, artists she admired, beats that made her feel like another reality was possible. After prison, after baptism, after modeling gigs and photo shoots, that background noise started to sound like a calling. Courtney didn't want to just be the face of a brand. She wanted to be the author of her own story. She wanted to talk about what it really felt like to be her, the emptiness, the need to be seen, the ache for something real. So she did something she'd been scared to do. She stepped out from behind the camera, walked into the studio, and started to rap. She wasn't trying to sound like everyone else in Columbus. She blended melody and rap, softness and strength, pop and hip-hop, vulnerability and defiance. She poured everything she couldn't say in a caption into her lyrics. And in April 2020, with all of that behind her and all of that inside her, she released a song called Lonely. She had no idea that track would be the beginning of everything, and the start of a countdown she couldn't see. When Lonely dropped in April 2020, it didn't explode like some overnight viral hit. But something more important happened.
Police have arrested a 22-year-old man and charged him with the death of a Columbus rapper. Kyson Murphy is charged with murder and aggravated robbery. He's accused of shooting and killing Courtney Bruce, known by her stage name, Boog the Bandit. Bruce was killed during an attempted robbery back in May.
Loved, not just liked, followed, or used. Her voice sat somewhere between a melody and a confession. You could hear the years she'd lost, the mistakes she'd made, the faith she was clinging to. It didn't sound like someone pretending to be tough. It sounded like someone who had already seen the worst and was still choosing to hope. And the people listening picked up on that. Slowly, Lonely started spreading. Shares, comments, messages, local supporters, then people who had never stepped foot in Columbus. They weren't just vibing with the beat. They were quoting lines, talking about how the song made them think about their own pain, their own bad decisions, their own need to start over. Courtney could feel the difference. Modeling had gotten her looks. Music was getting her love. She didn't stop. After Lonely came more records: Hot Topic, Hardaway, Risky. With each release, the sound refined itself. Still melodic, still emotional, but sharper, bolder, more confident. The numbers started stacking: 50,000, 80,000, 100,000, and up. Before long, all three videos had crossed 6 figures in views. Together, her catalog pushed past 500,000. For a major label superstar, those numbers might look small. For an independent artist from the East Side with no huge machine behind her, that was massive. That was proof. You can hear it in one of her most replayed clips, her smiling, shouting out her team, her producers, her engineers, thanking anyone who streamed her music. She brags that all 3 videos have hit 100,000 and promises she's going to drop again. There's no script, no media training, just pure joy. Someone who has finally found the thing she was meant to do. And the industry noticed. DJ Academics, one of the most influential voices in hip-hop media, put eyes on her. That alone can change trajectories. Then, she found herself in the orbit of established artist Trippie Redd, brushing up against the world of platinum plaques and massive streaming numbers. Those connections weren't just cool moments, they were doors. The biggest sign that those doors were opening wider came when she signed with Music the Label, an affiliate of Atlantic Records. That wasn't just a logo on a flyer. It meant resources, relationships, and the possibility of scaling what she'd already done by herself. She was no longer just a local talent hoping to be seen. She was officially on her way. And that's when the question every rising artist from a dangerous environment has to face landed in front of her. Do I stay or do I leave? Atlanta was the obvious next step. It's one of the beating hearts of modern hip-hop, a place where studios, producers, and collaborations are around every corner. In Atlanta, she could move more freely, connect with other artists, and build her career without constantly watching her back in neighborhoods where old grudges and new jealousy live side by side. People around her suggested it. She talked about it. She could see the vision: bigger stages, bigger videos, bigger records. A fresh start in a new city where she was known as a rapper first, not as somebody from this block or that street. But there was something stronger pulling her in the other direction. Her mom, Wanda.
To get pistol whipped and shot in the chest, and multiple times I heard, that wasn't called for. Even though she put up a fight.
The baptism, the comeback. Courtney felt a responsibility to her, a bond that was deeper than any contract or...
Even though she put up a fight.
Wanda says she never thought her daughter would be taken like this.
I always been nervous because I'm a mom. I always worry about her safety, her being smart, petite.
So she stayed. She stayed in the city that raised her, the city that doubted her, the city that loved her and resented her at the same time. She stayed because she wanted to be close if her mom needed anything. She stayed because she believed she could make it out while still sleeping in the same city she grew up in. At the time, it felt like the right decision, a loving decision, a decision rooted in loyalty, not fear. Later, for Wanda, it would become the decision that fueled every what if that kept her awake at night. What if my daughter had moved to Atlanta? What if she hadn't been in Columbus that day? What if staying home is what got her killed? Those questions didn't exist yet, not in Courtney's mind. All she knew was that she was on the edge of something big, balancing fame and family, success and safety, dreams and danger, on the same streets where 3 young men were about to turn her hometown into the scene of her murder. May 20th, 2021 didn't start like the day your life gets taken. For Courtney, it was another day trying to juggle life and momentum. Studio plans, link-ups, calls, messages, the constant hum that comes with pushing a music career forward. Somewhere in that noise, a plan was forming, but not one she'd made. By that point, she wasn't just some unknown rapper. People knew she carried money. They knew she wore jewelry. They knew she was connected, on the rise, and moving around the city with the confidence of someone who believed her life was finally going in the right direction. And in the shadows of all that success, 3 young men were watching. Their names would later be repeated in courtrooms, news reports, and impact statements. Kyson Murphy, 22 years old. Jumada Williams II, 19. And the youngest, just 17, Sincere McIntyre. According to investigators and prosecutors, this wasn't random. It wasn't some spur-of-the-moment robbery on a corner. It was a setup, a lure, a trap built on trust and familiarity. Murphy, the oldest, was the one who reached out. He didn't come at her like an enemy. He came at her like an opportunity, a link, a business contact, someone with something to offer. Whether it was framed as a music connection, a transaction, or a simple meetup, it sounded like the kind of move an artist like Courtney would make any day of the week. So she agreed. That afternoon, she ended up on the 3,700 block of Dort Place, a regular-looking stretch of Columbus that would soon become a permanent scar on her city's memory. She sat in a car with a 25-year-old male companion. To anyone passing by, it probably looked ordinary, just 2 people talking in a parked vehicle, living life. Places where the line between trying to make it and not coming home is frighteningly thin. In communities like that, violence isn't just a headline. It's a constant background noise. Parents worry every time their kids leave the house. Young people learn early how to read danger in a look, a car, a corner. And for the ones who actually manage to build something, a business, a career, a following, the danger doesn't just disappear. In some ways, it gets worse, because success can be a spotlight. The more Courtney rose, the more visible she became, to fans, to supporters, to people cheering her on. But also, maybe, to people who resented her. People who saw her chains, her cash, her views, her deals, and didn't see the years of work behind them, only what they thought they were owed. It's a cruel pattern we've seen over and over. A young artist, an athlete, a dreamer finally breaking out of the cycle, only to get pulled back in the most permanent way possible. Stories like Courtney's force us to ask hard questions. How many other lives will end like this? How many more young people are going to die just as they're finally getting the chance to live the life they've always imagined? And for the families left behind, these aren't abstract questions. For Wanda, there is no moving on. There is only living with. Living with the empty chair, the silent phone, the songs that stop mid-play because she can't handle hearing her daughter's voice some days. Living with the knowledge that the world is just now discovering an artist she no longer gets to hug. Courtney's life was full of flaws and bad decisions, yes, but also courage, growth, and a relentless push to be more than where she came from. She went to prison and came out determined to change. She found faith. She carved out a space in modeling. She stepped into music and turned her pain into melody. she almost made it out. Her story is a reminder that behind every mugshot, there might be a second chance. Behind every headline about another rapper killed, there is a real person who laughed, loved, struggled, and tried. It's a reminder that dreams grow in places most people never look, and that every time violence wins, we lose more than one life. We lose everything that life could have become. When you think about Courtney now, what stays with you? The crime or the climb? The way she died or the way she refused to give up on herself? Let me know what you think in the comments. And if you want to hear more true stories like this one, stay with me and check out the other videos waiting for you next.